back to this week's episode of the Broken Kid Podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we are going to be reviewing a favorite movie of mine. It's not exactly a well-received movie, but it's well-received in my heart, and that movie is no other than The Stepfather. Now, some of you may be wondering, what the heck is that about? How long? For some people, a movie about The Stepfather would be about 5 minutes long. It would be, stepfather gets with your mom and then he leaves again just like your real dad. In the end, never comes back. But this is something more sinister. Now, if you haven't seen the trailer, you should definitely go ahead and not check it out because it's a movie from like 15 plus years ago. I mean, like everything in there is like an artifact. Not to me, but I'm sure like 8-year-old kids watch that and they make fun of it. Because you see all those cars from 2010, the Hondas, the Camrys, and that's what this movie is a product of its time. It's really old, but that's what I like it. Now, who's in it? Okay, so we have Penn Badgley. Now, this is the guy who, if you know Ryan Reynolds, you know Blake Lively. They hooked up for a bit, Blake Lively and him, not Ryan Reynolds. Well, they didn't have a threesome. I hope not. Well, I think they did with Justin Baldoni, but that's a joke for another time. Anyhow, what I wanted to say was this. Penn Badgley's in it. He's the main guy. He plays a very handsome guy who is like, for some strange reason, he's 18, even though he looks like he's somebody who works at isn't realistic because he works at a coffee shop. And he's a little too cool and handsome, so he's working at a minimum wage job, which I have friends who work at a coffee shop, and a lot of them work there part-time. They get like 30 hours. Like, they don't work full-time. So that's one thing that's unrealistic. This guy is not an 18-year-old kid. Second of all, here's the other thing. Amber Heard is in it, and this was before she married, Pirate Man, Johnny Depp. But anyhow, she's in it, and of course she's very beautiful and stunning. She's great. You probably don't want to be with her. I've heard, we've all heard the stories, but this is a different time. Those allegations still hadn't come out where, she's going to use your bed as a toilet. And, she's in it. The other thing that's unrealistic is, first of all, there's no way she is 18. Second of all, if she is dating because she's dating Penn Badgley's character, which his name is Michael, and her name is Kelly, so it's a very generic name. It's a good thing she's very pretty because she's like the girlfriend she's very pretty. Obviously you're lucky she's pretty, but if you have this girlfriend, this is the girlfriend you want. This is the girlfriend that that boys want when they grow up because she's nice, she's caring, she's attentive. In fact, she's a little too much caring and attentive because Michael doesn't even know, and it's almost like he can pull these 10s, these 12s and 15s, and he's been doing it for so long that to him it's nothing special. And he doesn't know that he has something special until it's gone. And if in the movie he kept acting like a goddamn baboon, he would have lost his girl. But we have David Walsh. Let me look up his name. So his name is David, and this is the main bad guy. This is the guy that we're gonna see on the posters. This is the guy who we're gonna see with knives. This is the guy that we're gonna see him do crazy things. And I'll get into that in a while. But he's played by, let me go ahead and check. He is played by Dylan Walsh. Now, you can obviously tell that this guy was not playing and that this guy has experience playing creepy guys. This guy makes Jeffrey Dahmer look innocent. And that's because he would take hammers and smash them into people's head. In fact, the opening scene, it doesn't show him doing that, but it shows the blood on the hammers and stuff. Now, the other character that we're going to be talking about is going to be one of my least favorite characters, and that's just because I don't know if she's written poorly, or I don't know if she's an idiot, or she's everything that I don't want to be in life, where she's obviously rich, so I'm not that, That's the thing about these movies. They're always idyllic. I wish my life was like that. You watch those 2010 horror movies, and man, everything was so beautiful, so perfect. And you don't understand why these affluent kids, teenagers, even though Penn Badgley don't even look like one. The thing I was going to say is, I don't know why these kids don't just shape up. You should be acting out and lashing out and not Look, in the movie, his father, his real father, not his stepfather, not that crazy guy, but his real father is divorced from his mom. And if you're a rich kid and that's all you have go wrong in your life, you really shouldn't have F's. You shouldn't be flunking out of your sport. You shouldn't be getting into fights. And I hope you're not underage drinking, even though you look like a grown ass man. My problem with that is that there's kids out there who have, if that's all, there were times where bad things happened to me as a kid, and this is how you know life is not fair, how cruel life is. But bad things would happen to me, and bad things are still happening to me. It's called being an adult. But if you're in a horror movie, you can kind of, I guess, have a beautiful lifestyle and not worry. And that's that. I don't, But her going back to his mom, her name is Susan. She's played by, I hate to say this, but Cella Ward. I hate saying her name because I hate wasting my time on her. But she can't really catch on, and this is an unfortunate case where Michael is the one saying, "Hey, he's like he's grabbing everybody and shaking them and saying, wake up and see what's going on." And that doesn't happen. That's not. She's that character. She's inept. She's foolish. She falls for everything that this stepfather is saying. Like the thing about this stepfather is that it opens up, and this is when we get into the whole movie and the opening. But it shows David practically getting his new identity in the house of what we would later go on to find out. And it gives context, very light, but it assumes that the audience knows what's going on. And, he's getting a new personality and a new persona. He's dyeing his hair, shaving, putting in contacts, dressing slightly differently, getting a new car. And the reason he's doing this is because that family he just murdered. He murdered them with a hammer. And of course, now he has to flee. And I don't know why he would do this, because this is a lot of work. But I guess it's kind of fun, I guess, because you never know who you're going to get next. But, so this guy obviously has planning, because if you kill the family, you have to go on to a next one. And that's where we go on to essentially see him scouting in the next victim, which is Susan, Michael's mom, not his wife, Michael's mom, Penn Badgley, that grown ass man. But she goes on to practically be she gets wooed by him, and in a very kind of it's a meet cute moment. Little does she know that in about 8 months, this guy would be crazy. In about 6 months, he would go on to not, we'll get into it, but that's pretty much how it happens, how he gets into their life. Now, Penn Badgley's character, so for him, Michael, he doesn't come back until, because he's away at some military school because he's a fuck up, which I don't really know why you're a fuck up if all that happened is that your dad divorced from your mom. There's kids whose parents die. There's kids who get terrible diseases. They're born with terrible diseases. And you have a mom, and you have a dad, and now you have another dad, a stepdad, who's fucking crazy. And you have a nice house, and you have a really nice girlfriend, and you also look really mature, and you have really good muscle definition at 18. You look like you're a Calvin Klein model. And that's the part, this couple, Amber Heard and Penn Badgley, if by the end, I don't know why any of them are pursuing college. She's going to college, he's going to college, he's pursuing swim. He should be pursuing like a modeling business. He should go into modeling. That's the worst. That's the worst part of this movie, kinda, that they waste all that attractiveness on Amber Heard, and she's gonna go to college. I'm surprised she's not picked up by a scout, like one of those scouts. But of course, Penn is the only one who can see this. He's the only one who can see that he's onto him, and it's really weird because for the longest time they don't give you real why would he be raising our suspiciousness, And we don't really get to see much of that. But we don't really get to see much of it early on, but it does get explained. He pretty much wants to cut all loose ends, and he's not afraid of doing it because There, he's broadcasted on the news as a crazy guy. He's broadcasted as a crazy guy on the news because they're putting him like on alert. They want to capture this guy, and they're starting to think, there's no identity to him. They don't know his name. They have a picture, but the thing is, they can't get a name, they can't get an ID, they can't get anything because he pays with cash. When he buys the car, he pays with cash. In the movie, they explain it that when he gets his car registered, you don't need to provide an ID. Now, I don't understand how he didn't get like the insurance. So I don't know how that works. And then also, like, when he gets married, is he like, and that's when you start to realize that if he's gonna kill a family, he's also probably not married to them, because if he's married to them, he has to give his real information. So I guess what he does is before, when she's about to pop the question or they're about to get serious, he kills them in brutal ways. He'll strangle them. He'll do whatever. I mean, it's just, this guy is so crazy, and so he pushes this old lady. He pushes this old lady who goes on to tell Susan, the girl, the mom. She goes ahead and tells him, hey, I saw him on the news and he's on a wanted list. You should check it out. And I don't know what it is with people who are logical, but if you're logical in this movie, you're going to be ignored. So don't have logic, and then people will listen to you. People will listen to you like you're a politician giving a speech or something. People will just be all in the crowd. But if you have logic, you don't have a chance. You have a lot of work to do, because he pushes her down the stairs. She dies. The news gets out, and he gets, he's starting to kind of get on to him on his back on it. He's starting to get a hunch, and he's starting to investigate him. So what does he do? He looks him up online, and he's able to find a picture that looks exactly like him. But Penn Badgley forgets to do this. He forgets to void the search history. He forgets to erase it. And what happens? The crazy stepfather goes on the computer because he sees him looking it up, and he's curious on what he's looking up, and he finds that Penn Badgley's character is looking up to see if he's on the wanted list, and it turns out that he is. And so, of course, he's like, oh, crap. Things are over. And he starts fighting. His character is not afraid to hurt anyone, because Penn Badgley's Mike's character, his father, his real father, comes into the picture, and they're having he's gonna go pick up the kids, And when he's picking up the kids, he has an interaction with the stepfather, and they don't like each other. So what does he decide to do? Later on in the movie, if you thought it was all over, what does he decide to do? He decides to. This guy's creative. He's kind of like John Wick, but without the guns. But he goes ahead and he smashes a vase on him, which I don't know. I mean, it kills him, but he smashed that vase really hard. And then guess what? He gets a suspicion. They take a vase to his head, and guess what? He's working as a real estate agent with his soon-to-be wife. Has a friend who's a real estate agent. She got him, the stepfather, a job there. And when you have to do all that paperwork, everybody knows it. But I don't know how this happened, but they let him start working without any employee information, and he was getting paid under the table. But there comes a time where the lady who got him the job is like, hey, we need all your information, just send it over. So then what does he do? He quits. He quits a good job. He quits because he can't give it, and because it would be a different name to what he has with Susan, who's dumb enough to fall for it. So what does she do? She gets suspicious, the lady who gave him the job. So she kind of starts she starts investigating. And what does he do? This happens. He finds out through his wife, and he decides to go to her house, to his former boss's house. And while she's cleaning the yard and she's cleaning her nice pool, these real estate agents have beautiful houses. But while she's cleaning her house, if you hate real estate agents, this is a scene for you. He goes ahead and submerges her and kills her. Now, this is where we get to the end of it pretty much. Because, it gets really crazy here. So you're probably wondering, what do you do with the dead body of the real dad? He puts it in a freezer and he locks it. And this is where it gets crazy, because he's gonna Penn Badgley pretty much gets the ultimate hunch. He's like, we got to do this. He gets his hot girlfriend. He's like, we're gonna go down to the basement and we're gonna see what he has in those crazy cabinets. And upon, this is when it all picks up and it turns into an all-out fight. Is it good enough for the average person to think it's good enough to watch for the entire movie and then get gifted this? Of course not. It's not good enough. To me, I like it, but I don't want to go ahead and say it's good. But they go for an all-out brawl. Now, here's the thing. They go out for an all-out brawl, crazy fight out in the rain. Somehow they both don't manage to die. They pretty much push him off the ledge, and that's pretty much it. But this, I mean, my goodness, you got to be crazy to think of this, and you also have to be kind of like, you must be really bored if you're gonna think of going to like new families and then becoming a part of them and then murdering them. It makes you wonder what happened to this guy. He's crazy. You don't want to meet him. You don't want this guy to be your pharmacist. You don't want this guy to be your pet sitter. God, he might try to kill your girlfriend or might try to seduce her and kill you, and then force her to get Stockholm syndrome, and the end is history. The rest is history. But no, if you want to watch a good movie that is reminiscent of 2010 and just making all these idyllic horror movies where everything is idyllic until it's not, and then it gets solved or doesn't get solved, you should definitely watch this movie. If you like the show on Netflix, and he's obviously, Penn is obviously, he's a working actor. He's not short of working. So, he probably took this to get paid. A lot of people probably did. But they obviously all brought their A game and they were all serious. And it doesn't, it takes itself serious, and it does come across as serious. It's not, trying to be a horror movie and then it comes across as a failed attempt. In my opinion, it fails. It succeeds. Some people are going to be angry because they don't think it's the classic horror, but as somebody who loves watching classic horror where people get killed and mauled and there's chainsaws and blood, I get kind of tired of it just because it's so gratuitous. It's so much that sometimes you want to watch a movie that kind of feels more like a thriller or a suspense, suspense thriller. This is that. It's a suspense thriller with a bit of horror in it. And it's kind of like a new type of horror, maybe is what it did, But that's going to be it for a review. Hopefully you liked it. Subscribe it, watch the movie, and that is it.